I proposed to Lauren on top of Mount Bonnell at sunset, and when she said yes, I thought I had found my forever. We spent the next 6 months planning a wedding at a vineyard in Napa Valley, addressing invitations to 150 guests, dreaming about our future together. Then 3 weeks before our wedding, she told me she needed to go to Europe with her ex-boyfriend to figure out if she still loved me. Before we dive into what happened next, let me know where you are watching from. And if this story already has you hooked, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, what I did while she was gone will surprise you. Lauren and I met 4 years ago at a mutual friend's barbecue in Austin, Texas. It was one of those perfect summer afternoons where the air smelled like mesquite smoke and cold beer, and I remember seeing her laugh at something across the yard before we even spoke. When we finally started talking, the connection was immediate. We realized we both worked in tech, both loved hiking, and both had the same weird sense of humor that made other people groan at our jokes. By the end of that barbecue, I had her number, and by the end of that week, we had been on 3 dates. Our relationship moved naturally through all the milestones you are supposed to hit. Our first road trip together was to Colorado, where we spent 5 days camping and hiking trails that left us sunburned and exhausted in the best way possible. After 18 months of dating, we moved in together to a 2-bedroom apartment downtown. We adopted a rescue dog named Copper, a golden retriever mix, who had more energy than both of us combined. Life felt easy with Lauren. She was the person I called first with good news, the person who knew how I took my coffee, the person I wanted sitting next to me during long drives and quiet evenings at home. 6 months ago, I decided I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. I planned the proposal carefully, taking her back to Mount Bonnell, where we had gone on our 3rd date. We hiked up as the sun started to set, and when we reached the summit, I got down on one knee with downtown Austin spread out below us and the sky turning pink and orange. I asked her to marry me, and she cried and said yes, before I even finished the question. She called her mom while we were still on the mountain, both of us giddy and breathless, and so sure about what came next. Wedding planning was exciting at first. We chose the vineyard in Napa Valley because Lauren had always dreamed of getting married, surrounded by rolling hills and grapevines. We tasted cakes and picked flowers and argued good-naturedly about whether the DJ should play more classic rock or more pop music. We sent save the dates, booked hotel blocks, and spent evenings at our apartment stuffing envelopes with invitations. October could not come fast enough. I was ready to marry her. I thought she was ready to marry me. But then 2 months before the wedding, something shifted. Lauren started acting different in ways I could not quite name at first. She would stare at her phone during dinner, barely responding when I asked about her day. She started going to bed early, claiming she was tired from work, even though I knew her job had not gotten any busier. I would catch her texting someone and smiling in a way that felt private, like she was having a conversation she did not want me to see. When I asked if everything was okay, if the wedding planning was stressing her out, she snapped at me. Why does everyone think I am stressed? Maybe I just need some space to think. I apologized, immediately backed off, and told myself it was normal pre-wedding jitters. Everyone gets nervous before getting married, right? There was one specific evening that should have been a bigger warning sign than I let it become. We were sitting at our dining table, addressing wedding invitations together. Lauren was writing names in her careful handwriting, while I licked stamps and sealed envelopes. Out of nowhere, she stood up, dropped the pen, and said she needed air. She grabbed her keys and walked out of the apartment. I sat there confused, staring at the half-addressed invitation in front of me, wondering what I had done wrong. She came back 2 hours later, acted like nothing had happened, and went straight to bed, without explaining where she had been. I did not push it. I should have pushed it. My gut told me something was wrong, but I loved her, and I trusted her. I convinced myself I was overthinking things, that she was just overwhelmed with work and wedding planning and all the normal life stuff that piles up. I wanted to be the supportive partner, not the jealous, paranoid guy who demanded answers every time his fiancée seemed distant. So I stayed quiet and hoped things would get better on their own. 3 weeks before our wedding, Lauren asked if we could talk seriously. We sat down in our living room, Copper asleep on the floor between us, and I could tell from her face that whatever was coming was not going to be good. She started with 4 words that made my stomach drop. I have been talking to Derek again. Derek, her ex-boyfriend from college. The guy she dated for 2 years before he moved to London for work 5 years ago. The relationship I thought was ancient history, buried so far in the past, it did not matter anymore. She explained that Derek had reached out 2 months ago on Instagram. Just a friendly message at first asking how she was doing, catching up on old times. But then they started video chatting. And those video chats turned into long conversations late at night when I was already asleep. She told me that talking to Derek again had made her realize she never got closure on that relationship. She said she rushed into things with me without processing her feelings for him, and now she was confused. I stared at her, trying to make sense of what I was hearing. What are you saying? We are getting married in 3 weeks. Her answer is something I will never forget as long as I live. Derek invited me to come to Europe. He is traveling through Italy and France for 3 weeks. I need to go, Abram. I need to know if what I feel for you is real, or if I am just scared to be alone. I need to know if I still have feelings for him before I commit to you forever. My hands went numb. My vision blurred at the edges, like I was looking at her through a tunnel. I could not form words. I just sat there while she kept talking, explaining her twisted logic, like it made perfect sense. If I do not do this, I will always wonder. It is not fair to marry you with these doubts hanging over me. I will be back a week before the wedding. If I come back, it means I choose you, and we will get married knowing I am completely certain. This is not about Derek. This is about me. I am doing this for us, Abram. I am being honest. I am trying to prevent future regret. I finally managed to speak, and all I could say was, I need time to process this. She nodded like I was being reasonable, like I was supposed to thank her for her honesty. Then she dropped the final bomb. I already booked the flight. I leave tomorrow morning. I am sorry, Abram. This is the hardest thing I have ever done, but I have to do it for us. She had already booked the flight. She was not asking for permission. She was telling me what was going to happen, and I was supposed to sit there and accept it like a good understanding partner. She wanted me to wait at home like a backup option while she went to Europe to test drive her ex-boyfriend and see if he was a better fit than the man she had agreed to marry. That night, Lauren packed while I sat on the couch completely paralyzed. I could hear her in the bedroom opening drawers, zipping suitcases, moving around like this was just a normal trip. She came out once and kissed my forehead before going back to finish packing. She said, I love you. Please trust this process. Then she disappeared into our bedroom and closed the door. I did not sleep that night. I stayed on the couch with Copper pressed against my side, sensing something was wrong in the way dogs always do. I stared at the ceiling, my thoughts spiraling in every direction. Who does this? Who asked their fiancé for permission to test drive their ex-boyfriend? How was I supposed to tell our families? What was I supposed to say to the 150 wedding guests who had already booked flights and hotels? Around 3 a.m, something inside me shifted. It was like cold water had been poured over my head, shocking me awake. Clarity hit me all at once. If she is not sure about me now, she will never be sure. If she needs to go to Europe to figure out if I am good enough, then I am not good enough for her. And more importantly, I deserve someone who knows. I deserve someone who does not need a 3-week European vacation with an ex-boyfriend to decide if they want to marry me. Lauren's Uber arrived at 6 a.m. I heard her rolling her suitcase through the living room, and I stood up from the couch to see her off. She tried to hug me goodbye. I stood there, stiff arms at my sides, and did not return it. Her last words to me were, I will text you when I land. 3 weeks will fly by. We will laugh about this someday. I watched her get into the Uber from our apartment window. I watched the car disappear down the street. Then I waited exactly 10 minutes and called my best friend Marcus. "I need you to come over. Bring your truck. We have a lot to do." Marcus showed up within an hour. He took one look at my face and said, "Tell me what we are doing." I told him we are canceling a wedding. He did not ask questions. He just nodded and said, "Let's go." Our first stop was the vineyard in Napa Valley. It was a 2-hour drive, and I spent most of it staring out the window, feeling weirdly calm. The wedding coordinator was sympathetic when I explained I needed to cancel. She tried to be gentle about the cancellation fee, apologizing that they would have to keep the $10,000 deposit since we were canceling so close to the date. I did not care. I said, "Cancel it. I will pay whatever I need to pay. Just cancel it." Next, we drove to the caterer. They were less sympathetic and more focused on the fact that we were canceling 3 weeks out. We lost another $5,000 there. Then we went to the jeweler, where I had bought our wedding rings. The woman behind the counter tried to talk me out of returning them. She said, "Are you sure maybe you just need some time to cool off? Think about this." I looked her right in the eye and said, "I have thought enough. I am not waiting around for someone who does not want to be here." She processed the return without another word. Over the next 2 days, Marcus and I worked through the entire wedding checklist like it was a business project. We canceled the florist, we canceled the photographer, we canceled the DJ. Every vendor had the same reaction, a mix of surprise and pity, but I did not care. I was not embarrassed. I was not sad. I was just done. Then I sent a group message to all 150 wedding guests. I kept it simple. The wedding is canceled. We appreciate your understanding. No need to reach out. We both need space. My phone exploded immediately. My family called first. My mom was crying, asking what happened if I was okay. I gave her the simplified version. She left to be with her ex. The wedding is off. I am okay. My dad was furious, saying he wanted to call Lauren and give her a piece of his mind. I told him not to bother. My little sister offered to fly in from Seattle to stay with me. I told her I appreciated it, but I needed to do this on my own. The hardest part was packing up Lauren's things. Marcus helped me box her clothes, her toiletries, the framed photos we had hung around the apartment. We stacked everything neatly in the spare bedroom. I took down the engagement photos from the living room wall and stored them in the closet. At one point, I found a notebook in her nightstand drawer. I opened it and realized it was the vows she had been writing. I only read one line before I closed it. "Abram, you are my safe place, my home, my forever." I put the notebook in a box, sealed the box with packing tape, and carried it to the spare bedroom with everything else. The final step was the hardest and the easiest at the same time. I blocked Lauren's number. I blocked her on Instagram, on Facebook, on every social media platform we were connected on. I even set up a filter on my email so anything from her address would go straight to spam. Marcus watched me do it and asked, "Man, are you sure? What if she tries to come back? What if she changes her mind?" I looked at him and said, "She made her choice when she got on that plane. I am making mine. She does not get to come back." On day 3, Marcus showed me Lauren's Instagram. She had posted photos from Rome. There she was standing in front of the Colosseum with Derek, both of them smiling like they were on the honeymoon I was supposed to be planning. Another photo at the Trevi Fountain holding hands, looking at each other like they were the only 2 people in the world. I felt nothing. No anger, no jealousy, no heartbreak. Just a strange sense of relief that I had already made my decision before seeing proof of hers. On day 5, my phone rang from a number I did not recognize. It had a European country code. I blocked it immediately. 10 minutes later, Marcus called. "Lauren just called me. She wanted to know why you were not answering. She asked if you are okay." I told Marcus to tell her the truth. He called her back and said he is fine. He is moving forward. There was a pause, and then Lauren apparently asked, "What does that mean?" "We are supposed to talk about the wedding plans when I get back." Marcus delivered the news exactly how I had asked him to. "There is no wedding, Lauren. He canceled everything." Marcus told me later that there was complete silence on the other end of the line. Then Lauren said, "What, he cannot just do that. I will be back in a week. We will fix this." Marcus shut it down. He said, "Do not come back expecting anything. He is done. Respect that." Then he hung up. Over the next week, Lauren's attempts to reach me became increasingly desperate. She sent emails to my work account. I set up a filter for those too. She sent messages through mutual friends. They all refused to pass them along, understanding without me having to explain that I did not want contact. She even called my mom crying, begging her to talk to me. My mom, who had always loved Lauren like a daughter, told her, "You broke my son's heart. Stay away from him." While Lauren was panicking in Europe, I was starting to heal. I took a week off work and stayed with Marcus and his wife Emily. They kept me busy with hikes, elaborate dinners they cooked together, and movie marathons that went late into the night. Emily was the one who really helped me see things clearly. One evening she sat me down and said, "Abram, what she did was not just cruel. It was manipulative. She wanted you to wait around like a safety net while she explored her options. You deserve someone who is all in, not someone who keeps one foot out the door. You did the right thing." I started therapy 2 days after Lauren left. My first session, the therapist asked me a simple question. "What are you feeling right now?" I thought about it for a long time before I answered. Relief. Underneath all the hurt and anger, there is relief. I feel like I dodged something. The therapist nodded and said, "That is your intuition telling you the truth." Over the next few sessions, I started to see cracks in my relationship with Lauren that I had ignored. Her constant need for validation from other people. Her tendency to romanticize past relationships, and exes always talking about the one that got away, like it was some tragic love story. Her inability to fully commit to future plans beyond the wedding itself. Whenever I brought up buying a house or talking about kids, she would change the subject or say we had plenty of time. I realized that Lauren loved the idea of being engaged more than she actually loved me. She loved the ring, the attention, the wedding planning, the Instagram posts. But when it came to the actual commitment, the reality of building a life together, she panicked. And instead of being honest about her doubts, she blamed me for not being enough. The truth was, I was always enough. She was the one who was not ready. One afternoon, I went hiking alone at a trail we used to go to together. I reached a vista point where you could see the whole valley below, and I stood there for a long time, just breathing. For the first time in weeks, I felt genuinely hopeful about my future. Not sad, not angry, not bitter, just hopeful. I realized I was going to be okay. Better than okay, actually. I was going to be free. On day 21, Lauren came home. She showed up at our apartment building, but I had already changed the locks. She stood outside, ringing the buzzer over and over, but I was not there. I was at Marcus and Emily's place, and I had no intention of seeing her. She called Marcus again, and this time she was hysterical. I made a mistake. Derek and I fought the entire trip. It was terrible. I realized Abram is who I want. I need to see him. Please, Marcus. I need to talk to him. Marcus did not give in. He said, "He does not want to see you. You need to arrange a time to pick up your things when he is not there. That is it." We scheduled a time for Lauren to come get her belongings. I made sure I was not home. I stayed at Marcus's place and let her take everything I had packed. When I came back that evening, the apartment felt emptier, but cleaner somehow. She had left a letter on the kitchen counter. 10 pages, handwritten, her familiar looping handwriting, covering every line. Marcus offered to read it for me, and I let him. He summarized the contents. Apologies. Explanations about cold feet and fear of commitment. Promises that she had changed. Begging for another chance. The final line was, "I will do anything. Please. I love you. I was stupid. Derek meant nothing. It was all a mistake." I listened to Marcus read the letter, and when he finished I said, "Tell her I am not interested." Marcus asked if I wanted to write something back, and I shook my head. Just tell her I hope she finds what she is looking for. It is not me. Marcus delivered the message, and that was the last time Lauren tried to contact me. I never read the letter myself. I threw it away that night. 3 months after Lauren left, my life looked completely different. I moved to a new apartment, a smaller one-bedroom place downtown, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city skyline. Copper adjusted to the new space quickly, and honestly, he seemed happier. Dogs sense energy, and the energy in our old apartment had been tense for months before Lauren even left. Now it was just the two of us, and everything felt lighter. Work became a welcome distraction. I threw myself into a major project at my company, leading a team through a product launch that had been in development for over a year. The long hours kept me busy, and the challenge kept my mind sharp. 2 months after the breakup, I got promoted to senior project manager. My boss pulled me aside and said I had been doing exceptional work lately, and I realized he was right. Without the constant emotional drain of a failing relationship, I had more energy to focus on my career. It felt good to be recognized for something I had actually earned. My social life expanded in ways I had not expected. I reconnected with old friends I had neglected during my relationship with Lauren. I started saying yes to invitations I would have turned down before. I joined a rock climbing gym and went 3 times a week, pushing myself up routes that terrified and exhilarated me in equal measure. I picked up my guitar again, something I had stopped playing, because Lauren always complained about the noise. Now I played whenever I wanted, learning new songs late at night with the windows open and the city humming below. One evening I did something I had never done before. I went to a concert alone. It was a band I loved playing at a small venue downtown, and none of my friends were available. Old me would have stayed home. New me bought a ticket and went anyway. I stood in the crowd surrounded by strangers, singing along to songs I had listened to 100 times, and I felt completely content. Not lonely, not sad, just present. I realized in that moment that I did not need someone else to complete me. I was whole on my own. That was a feeling I had never experienced in any of my past relationships, and it changed everything. I started dating casually, nothing serious, just testing the waters. I went on coffee dates and dinner dates and learned how to talk about myself without mentioning Lauren every 5 minutes. One woman asked me why I was single, and I gave her an honest answer. I am taking my time. I am not in a rush to find the one anymore. I am enjoying finding myself. She smiled and said that was the healthiest thing she had heard a guy say in a long time. We went on a few more dates, but it did not go anywhere, and that was okay. I was not looking for forever. I was just looking to enjoy the present. 6 months after Lauren left, I ran into her at a coffee shop downtown. I was waiting in line, scrolling through my phone, when I heard someone say my name. I looked up, and there she was. She looked different. Thinner, with dark circles under her eyes, her smile uncertain and small. My first instinct was to leave, but I stayed. I figured we would have to run into each other eventually in a city like Austin. Might as well get it over with. She walked over, and we stood there awkwardly for a moment before she spoke. Abram. Hi. How are you? I kept my voice neutral. I am good. How are you? She nodded too quickly, her hands fidgeting with her coffee cup. I am okay. I have been wanting to reach out. I am so sorry for everything. I was selfish and immature. You deserved so much better than what I put you through. I appreciated the apology, but it did not change anything. I said I appreciate that. I hope you are doing well. There was a pause, and then she asked the question I knew was coming. Are you seeing anyone? I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized I felt nothing. No anger, no resentment, no lingering affection. Just indifference. I said, that is not really relevant anymore, is it? She flinched like I had slapped her. The moment stretched out between us, years of history, compressed into this one uncomfortable silence. Her eyes filled with tears. She said, I think about you all the time. About what we could have been. I thought about what to say. how to end this conversation in a way that gave us both closure. Finally, I said, "We were what we were." I do not regret the good times, Lauren, but I do not regret walking away either. Take care of yourself. Then I walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. I got into my car, drove home, and realized I felt nothing but peace. No anger, no sadness, no longing for what could have been. Just peace. That encounter taught me something important. Closure is not something someone else gives you. It is something you give yourself. It is deciding the story is over, even if the other person is still writing their chapter. It is walking away and not looking back, not because you are bitter, but because you are done. And I was done. Looking back now, I can see the whole experience clearly. When someone shows you they are not sure about you, believe them the first time. Do not wait around, hoping they will wake up and realize your worth. You already know your worth. That is enough. Real love does not need a test run with an ex-boyfriend in Europe. Real love does not ask you to wait while someone figures out if you are good enough. Real love is certain even when it is scared. Especially when it is scared. I learned that I do not need to convince someone to choose me. The right person will not make it a choice. They will just know. And until that person shows up, I am perfectly fine on my own. Better than fine, actually. I am thriving. I have a career I love. Friends who show up for me, hobbies that make me happy. And a dog who thinks I am the best thing that ever happened to him. That is a pretty good life. I am dating someone now. Her name is Kate. She is a teacher, and she makes me laugh in a way I have not laughed in years. We have been seeing each other for a month, taking things slow, with no pressure and no timelines. I do not know where it is going, and I am okay with that. I have learned to enjoy the journey instead of rushing to the destination. Kate does not play games. She does not talk about her exes like they were the great lost loves of her life. She shows up when she says she will. She communicates clearly, and she seems genuinely happy to be around me. That is all I need right now. If you are going through something like this, if someone just walked away or made you feel like you are not enough here, is what I want you to know. You are enough. You always were. Their inability to see it is their loss, not your failure. Let them go. Do not beg. Do not wait. Do not hope they will change their mind. Just let them go. The right person will not make you wonder. They will make you certain. And until that person shows up, be certain about yourself. That is where it starts. That is where I started. And I am doing just fine. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved because they could not see your worth? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one, and I promise you are not alone. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss future videos. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Someone out there is waiting by the phone for someone who does not deserve them, and maybe this will give them the courage to walk away. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helped. Take care of yourself, and remember you deserve someone who is sure about you. Do not settle for anything less.